I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to Listen. There's a lot going on in our nation today. Man, there's a lot going on all over the world. So if we can sit back, we've been watching the Ukraine, we can watch Saudi Arabia, we can watch Israel, Palestinians, we can, there's a lot of mess going on, but all of a sudden, then we have 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers killed in Texas. A very sad thing. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in this nation. And what I want to share, this program is primarily to black people. This is an urban commentary. Listen. What I want to share is that we as black people need to understand that we are not a party to the mess of this nation. Although we have bought into, especially like political ideologies, bought into negativity, even self-destructive activities, that we are not a party to the evil. We are casualties of the evil. And that's what many of us, that's what we're acting out in life. Okay? And I think we need to maintain that. Because we need to find our way to where we will be well, we will be healthy, but it's very difficult, okay? We talk a lot recently about this critical race theory. And so without just simply talking about something that I didn't know much about, I decided to study critical race theory. And when I came to understand, it's just not a history lesson, because there's really not much in the history of black people in this nation that we don't already know, okay? So the critical race theory are simply a bunch of people that have come together over the years and have considered and come up with theories as to why things are the way they are, why we are the way why the oppression continues after all these years, why is it not resolved, okay? And one particular example focus on maybe that a kid comes up going through kindergarten all the way through high school and even through college, never seeing one black male teacher, okay? So what does that effect have on this individual? See, that's critical race theory. And just discussions. And trying to figure stuff out. That's why it's amazing that there's been so much uproar, hoopla, about the idea of teaching critical race theory when both sides really haven't a clue who are arguing on what it's all about. And I've been studying, and not really in-depth studying, but just sort of a cursory study of critical race theory, and the conclusion that I've come up with, it's really nothing that needs to be explained to white folks. Okay? To me, the remedy to what critical race theorists identify is first of all that black people have been brainwashed into believing themselves something that they're not. Okay? Or they have become something that they didn't need to be simply because they believe that. And so we have situations now where black people are destructive, are self-destructive and destructive to our communities and just whatever kind of issues we have, considering the theories on why they are the way they are. We're the ones that need to be made aware. We are the ones, why would you... First I want to say that white people have a lot of issues too, self-destructive issues. But that's not what this discussion is about. This discussion is about our self-destruction, okay? Why are we drinking so much alcohol? Why are we smoking so much weed? Why do we have gangs? Why are we killing each other? See, the black-on-black crime rate is pretty high. Now the reality is, and if we've discussed here, and many people understand that the ratio of black-on-black crime is really no different than the ratio of white-on-white crime, brown-on-brown crime, yellow-on-yellow, red, because most of the people that anyone commits crimes against are going to be people in their own community, okay? But even given that, we should not determine that the black-on-black crime is the same ratio as the white-on-white crime. We should not find some way to justify our illness. If that's their ratio, it still shouldn't be ours. Okay? We have a very unique presence, in this nation, how we got here and what we've been through. So let's not justify our self-destructive habits by proclaiming that it's at the same rate as theirs. Let's be better than them. okay? So really, the remedy, what critical race theory identifies is why we are in the condition that we're in. But I am more focused than to simply discover why, but discover how we're going to escape this, okay? And it's going to take a lot of effort to turn that brainwashing. I think number one, see, a lot of us believe that since maybe we're respectable, or maybe we have good jobs, or we're educated, or we're making a lot of money, that we don't fall into that. But we do. It's brainwashing. It's believing you're something that you're not. And it's believing that you're a Democrat or a Republican in this nation, when the reality is you're still simply a black man in this nation. So to me, I'm thinking, and I guess I come to this kind of conclusion not just from trying to understand the critical race theory, but just looking at the politics in our nation. Looking at some of the things that we've bought into as black people, as Democrats or Republicans. Come on now. I mean, for the Democrats, it's like the pro-choice issue as it relates to abortion. I mean, we've really gotten on that bandwagon. From the Republican side, the black Republicans, it would be the pro-choice as it pertains to guns, okay? And so my feeling about these is that we need to recognize that we're really not part of the political game unless they want our vote. I mean, come on, look, you got Georgia over there putting up Herschel Walker. Why, I'll call you a black guy and I'll raise you one. What, they playing poker with black people or something or what? I don't know. But we need to recognize that, to me, Herschel Walker and Herman Cain and even Clarence Thomas and a lot of those black folks that seem to have a hatred for themselves and manifesting, in politics and all, it's like they're suffering from the same issues that critical race theory would identify. Is it not understanding who you are, and we need to address that in the black community as far as politics goes. So now look at the abortion issue, the pro-choice issue in the Democrat Party, which are a lot of folks, black folks, that are Democrats. Now to me, if you want to be a Democrat or you want to be a Republican, that's fine, but it doesn't mean that you have to buy into every single ideology that party, espouses, okay? So you have to look at the uniqueness of black people in this nation and try to recognize that we're not the same, okay? And that white Democrats or white Republicans, even white liberals, bleeding hearts or whatever, there's still white folks that have benefited from the oppressive system that we've had in this nation from its inception. And so as black people, we need to recognize that it's not wisdom for us to simply link arms with every political issue that the Democratic or the Republican Party has that you might feel yourself a part of, because it's not in your interest. Now regarding the abortion issue. Black people came up, seeing life pretty sacred. I'm not saying we didn't have abortions. My old mom, she was like 97 when she passed years ago, and she said, "There's nothing that you young people do that we didn't do." I'm kind of, come on, Mom, I didn't want to hear any of that. But that's the reality. There have been abortions, since in the black community forever, okay? But I'm just saying, about 30 years ago, the numbers came out that in the 21st century, the white people in this nation were going to become a minority. And it seems that the powers that be have taken every step they could, political, to limit that. Okay, by coming harder down on immigration, of brown people, but not of white people coming in from Europe, okay? So we want to talk about how unfair that is. Why is that? Look what they're doing. They're turning those Haitians back, but they're bringing all these Ukrainians in and giving them free college, or helping them and bringing them here and making sure they're okay and all. Well, look, those numbers don't lie. And so the powers that be are working diligently to make sure that doesn't happen. Or at least they can stymie the process. So that, it's almost like a military confrontation where you have to flank your opponent. So you come at your opponent from the front and you come at them from the back. So from the front are these politics. From the back are these abortions. You know, I'm just suggesting then, if we have a situation where white people in this nation are going to become the minority, why are we having abortions? Come on, man. Every little baby born is a little baby voter, going to be a voter one day. Quit doing that. Of course they want you to have abortions. I believe that the problem with the problem in sort of like why the Republican Party is working so hard, because it seems to me these are just white folks. Yeah. First of all, just understand where I'm coming from. You know, I'm not political. So when I saw Hillary running against Trump, I just saw two rich white folks that wanted to be in charge, okay? When I see Biden run against Trump, I just saw two rich white folks that want to be running things, okay? So as a black man in America, when we are not totally equal, I don't consider myself a part of a political party. Now, I will vote based on what my best interests are, but it will be me influencing them to do what I need them to do, not them influencing me to be who they want me to be, okay? So I'm just saying, as black folks, we don't need to be buying into that abortion issue. We don't need to be we don't need to be aborting our kids when the issue at hand is that the white people in this nation will be the minority. What we do need to do, if have our babies and do right by them, okay? For real. That's all. We need to clean up our act. This is that whole critical race theory. The result, the fallout from all that, those issues that we've had to deal with over hundreds of years is the fact that we're not thinking properly. We have to begin thinking properly. So don't buy into that ideology. And look at the gun issue, man. The gun issue, I mean, I understand innocent people are being killed. But aside from the gangbangers, which that's a whole nother issue of brainwashed black people, we're not going out there mass killing, mass shooting people. Why are we on this gun control bandwagon? To me, black folks need to be getting as many guns as they can just to protect themselves, man. I mean, we don't want to be victims. We got to recognize that black lives matter only to black people, okay? And say they were somehow, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, they were to cut off the spigot. Okay, say no more assault rifles, no more this, no more that. They're not going to be confiscating all the assault rifles that are already out there. So when the smoke clears and the dust settles and they've turned the spigot off, who's going to be unarmed? Black people, why are you on that bandwagon? Why are you on that bandwagon of gun control, okay? Why, control their guns. Man, I was talking to this guy at work, man, cool white guy. He was really into weapons and all. He was more into crossbows, something like that. Friend of mine. He was telling me that he has a friend of his, these are all white friends, that after work this guy all he does is make bullets all day and all night. And he's got like 80,000 rounds of bullets. There's just one guy, okay? So, you know what really scares, I have guns. I have an AR, I have a shotgun, I have a Glock and all that stuff. But my biggest concern was when this pandemic hit, how you couldn't buy any bullets, okay? That was my concern. But now you can buy them, so that's cool. I'm just saying we need to not simply affix ourselves to a political party because they're just using us. They're using black people for their vote. And come on down. Now you're talking about emancipation was in 1864. Actually took effect like 1865 or so. This many years later, we're still being choked out, murdered, still complaining about how we're being treated and they're not, all that stuff. Come on. Man, if this was like the pandemic, or this was like, the abortion issue, they sure would be out there more of a fervor. But see, you got black people still being mistreated. This has never subsided. But then the abortion issue comes up and all these black people are linking arms like we shall overcome with that. or linking arms with the gun people to have more guns or to not have more guns. Just recognize what's in the best interest for you, black people. Because when that dust settles, when that smoke clears, it's just going to be you. We need to be well. We need to recognize that we are not part of a political party. But I would suggest to black people, man, I would get as well. I guess my thing is this. Look, I was in the military in the 70s. And for a short time of my military career, I spent time training as a wartime or a war skill security police, okay? And so I was trained, with a handgun. And I wasn't any good with the handgun. Now, in my personal life, I had a .38 myself. When I was in the military, but it was my own personal weapon. I had a .38. I went overseas. I had to sell it. I had to get rid of it. I couldn't take it with me. But since then, I didn't have any guns. Until about 7 years ago. I was at home from work one day. It was my day off, and I was watching the documentary on television about these survivalist white self-proclaimed supremacists, and they were looking kind of dangerous. They had a bunch of guns. They had like these dugout shelters and all this food that was supposed to last them, and they were predicting this upcoming apocalypse and all this stuff. And man, I'm like, geez. I got up right, it was that afternoon I was watching that program. I went right to the gun store. I got right up from the couch, went to the gun store, and bought a 9mm Glock. Just because I got scared. I said, these people are driving around here, passing me on the road, at the store or whatever. These people are out and about. I went right then and bought a 9mm. Wasn't long after I got my CCW. But after I bought that 9mm, I was like thinking, well, I was remembering how when I was a security police, how I couldn't hit the side of a barn. I was no good with a handgun. And so I went back to the gun store and purchased a Mossberg shotgun. That cool kind with the handle, So then I got a shotgun. Then I was thinking, well, what if the threat is far away coming toward me? And when I was in the military, I didn't have a whole lot of awards, but I did have the expert marksmanship for the M16. Pretty good at that. And so there's an AR-15, pretty similar to the M16. So I could already shoot that. I was already good at that. So I went ahead and purchased an AR-15, and that's what I have. Now, so for me personally, I only bought that stuff to protect me from these crazy, survivalist white supremacists. Now I haven't shot the AR since I've had it. I haven't shot the shotgun since I've had it. And I have shot the 9mm only because to get my CCW, that was the last thing I had to do, was go to the range, okay? And but so I pray that I hope I never have to use that stuff. But I also don't intend on being the guy, being run down the street by 3 guys in a pickup truck shooting me without being able to defend myself, okay? So I believe we should, if you feel like it, have a passion, to do whatever it is you want to do in the political realm, but in the meantime, exercise some wisdom and recognize that this problem really isn't going to resolve itself anytime soon. And in the meantime, you need to be in a place where you can protect yourself and protect your family. That's all I'm saying. So I guess in a nutshell, what I'm suggesting is we need to recognize that we're in this alone. We didn't create this situation, but we're in this situation. And we're really not making too many inroads to getting out of this. We have to recognize the brainwashing. Come on, I was a pretty cool young person. I understand the buzz and all. But you have to recognize that a self-destructive, I don't even want to say self-destructive because people want to say like weed isn't self-destructive. But it's not productive for an individual in their life. I was talking on my spiritual program last week, and I was talking about the moment. I was suggesting that there is no yesterday. There is no tomorrow. There's just the moment. You've never functioned in yesterday. and you've never functioned in tomorrow. We always function in the moment. Now our watches, they're going and time is passing as that little hand, the minute hand's going around, the hour hand's going around, the calendar goes around. Time moves through our moment. But we always simply function in the moment. Okay? And I was sharing that with my daughter recently when we were talking about homework. A lot of times kids like to wait until the last minute, last moment, and do their homework. But I was sharing with her that everything is in the moment. Okay? Time is just a concept that was created that passes through our moment. And so you have a moment in the morning. Put your hand to it. Do something productive. Say you have a project, okay? One school project in physics, okay? So at 9 o'clock in the morning, in your moment, do some studies, okay? And start creating the project. At 12 o'clock in your moment, do more of the project. Fine-tune. Add to it. At 6 o'clock in your moment, put it all together, just make sure it makes sense, improve it, polish it up. And what will manifest in your moment will be the product, a good product of the input that you put into it 3 times in your moment, okay? Versus 1 time in your moment. So we don't have the luxury of responding anywhere outside of our moment, which will make our moment better, okay? And so we have the opportunity to be productive in our moment, for our moment to produce, or we can not be productive in our moment, so our moment produces nothing. So when I'm looking at weed, you are imparting nothing of substance that will create in your moment something positive. When your moment continues, when your moment produces nothing, it's because you didn't impart into your moment. And so how do you identify by a non-productive moment is when your life doesn't change. And in fact, often begins to deteriorate. So what I'm suggesting is it is imperative that we are productive in our moment to have a fulfilled and a productive life. Because all we are experiencing in our entire life is the moment. A moment of impartation, a moment of production. But always a moment. We are living in the moment. And so what we have done then, with the weed, with the alcohol, with the simply running the streets and all the things that we're doing in our moment, we are producing nothing. And as we age in our moment, we have nothing significant to show. We have to change that. We have to recognize how important. That's why the Buddhists, they have this whole thing about not worrying about anything but the moment. Do your best in that moment. That's why you find a lot of people that are Buddhists. They're so productive. They work so hard. They do so well because they believe in their religion that you focus everything on that moment and put your all in all into the moment. And see, if that's how you live your life, that every moment of your existence, you're imparting your best, your moment is producing at the same time you are imparting. That's the whole religious concept about sowing and reaping. even about putting money in the offering bucket and expecting it to be well. And it's a real thing from a spiritual and a philosophical concept, because you are always in the moment. So as you get your moment of impartation, you're also in your moment of receiving. And that's simply what you keep going. And that's what we need to see in our community today. We need to recognize how much time, how many moments that we have been wasting, therefore how many moments have not been producing. And when you're talking about a lifetime, when you're talking about not only your lifetime, but your generations, your children looking at you and figuring out how they're supposed to act based on what you're doing, you're finding generations and generations of black people that are in dismal conditions in life because they have not learned the importance in sowing into the moment in their life, always looking to have fun, always looking to satisfy a feeling without imparting anything productive in their moment, okay? So if anything, as we leave here, as we leave this program, I wanted you to consider that. Recognize that we are simply dwelling in our moment. There is no tomorrow. There is no yesterday. There is only today. Put your most into that moment, and it can't be a buzz. It can't be high. It can't be drunk. It can't be out doing frivolous, destructive things in your moment, because you're just preparing your moment to be negative, okay? That's all I'm saying. I hope that wasn't too deep. I hope you got it. Because look, and you know, sometimes I'm disappointed when I try to share some concepts, some of these concepts with folks, okay? Because as many of you know, and I've shared so often, that there was a time, you know, I was out there. I was doing the buzz. I was drunk. I was 24/7. I was high on something or another. I was in clubs 7 nights a week. I was living a totally destructive lifestyle. Just chasing the fun. Chasing fun. Chasing fun. See, the problem is when you're chasing fun, that's what you're imparting into your moment, and that's not producing anything positive, and a lot of times it's producing something negative, okay? But then one night, and it was 10 years of that lifestyle. One night I couldn't sleep, and ordinarily if I couldn't sleep, I'd just get a little buzz, go right to sleep. That night I thought, no, I'm not going to. I began to contemplate, I began to meditate. And I realized in like a fraction of a moment that I was not on the right path. And as for those folks that saw me at work, I came home, I left work, one guy. The next time they saw me, I was totally somebody else. I stopped all of that stuff, every destructive thing, everything that I was a part of. I just quit that day. Okay, I was 28 then. I'll be 64 this year. So I can do that. But that's why I study, or if I hear somebody, or if I'm even in a debate and somebody says something that makes me think maybe they're right, I will adjust immediately. And so that's what I'm sharing with you right now. See this. I hope that you can grasp because I would change immediately hearing something and realizing something like this, that we operate in the moment. We never operate in the past. We never operate in the future. We just operate right now. Okay, I've been playing chess since I was a kid. We used to sit around and watch the older folks play it. We got the hang of it, and we began to play it. But there's a piece called a pawn. And there's more pawns on the table, on the board, than any other piece. Okay? And the pawn is like, well, it's more expendable than the other pieces because there are so many. You have 2 bishops, you have 2 knights, you have 2 castles, and you have a queen and a king. And then you have a bunch of pawns. And the pawns are expendable. Okay? And they're the least powerful piece on the board. But you know, if you're able somehow to get that pawn all the way down the board to the other side, you can turn that pawn into any other piece on the board. Now the most powerful piece on the board, some say, is the queen. Okay, others would say it's the castles. You know, they all have their unique characteristics. But you can have if you get 5 pawns down to the other side of the table, you could conceivably have 5 or 6 queens. And you're going to win that game, okay? So although they're the least powerful, they have the potential to be something great. But there are often strategies that you're going to sacrifice a pawn to get one of your more powerful pieces in a more strategic position, okay? And what I'm suggesting today, that in America, that's what we find ourselves with the politicians. The politicians are millionaires. The politicians are power hungry. And they don't have the interests of the pawns at heart. The pawns are the voters, us, we the people. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, whatever you are a pawn. And you're being used for a particular purpose by the particular party, okay? I'm suggesting is that we need to step back. Because a lot of times we don't think we're pawns. Because a good politician is going to stand up before a whole bunch of pawns and convince them that he is just like the pawn. That he's a pawn too. You know, I understand the pawn because I'm a pawn. But they're not. They're just convincing. They're just convincing these pawns that we're all in the same boat, but we're not. Okay? And they'll send you to your doom. I'm just saying we, as individuals, sometimes need to stop, step back, look at the board. Am I a pawn? And recognize they'll use you. Because although you're expendable, they also realize how powerful you are. Because when you get all the way down to the other side as a pawn, you become a queen. You're no longer used by the queen. You're no longer used by the bishop, by the knight, by the castle, or anything. You are now an actual queen with the power greater than all those other pieces on that board, other than the other queen, okay? And so what I'm suggesting is most pawns don't realize they have the potential to be the most powerful piece on that board. And I'm telling you, as black people in America, we need to realize we are being used, we are being manipulated as pawns for the good of folks who are not even as strong as we are, at least potential-wise. Come on, look at our lives in America. We, as black people in this nation, most of us in this nation are the descendants of slaves. Most of us. And most white people in this nation are not the descendants of slaves, right? Now, truth be told, most white people didn't have slaves because it cost money to have slaves. Most white people were dirt poor. They were kind of like white N-words, okay? But they weren't slaves, all right? So most white people in this nation, just about none of them are the descendants of slaves in America, and most black people are. Now look at us today. We're pretty much on the same level, really, as a people, as white people in this nation. I have an MBA. My wife has a degree from Miami University. My son has a degree from UC. My brother has a degree from Wright State. My sister is a PhD. I mean, and that's just my family. We're all over the place, and we're making money. My daughter's in good schools. Our kids are in good schools, and all this. We have poor people. We have wealthy people. We have middle class people, just like white folks in this nation. So how do we go from being slaves to today where the descendants and the descendants and the descendants now are on the same level as those who were not slaves? We are that creative. Even with the persecution, even with the Jim Crow, even with the uncivil rights offered to black people throughout the years, even with the George Floyds, and as there are many persecuted, the prison system, the justice system, all these unfair, the housing and voting and all this stuff perpetrated upon black folks, we are still successful, okay? We're just dealing with some unfair treatment even in our success. Recognize how creative we are. Recognize how we are not really pawns when we recognize it. And what I'm suggesting to you today, we have a whole community of black folks across this nation that simply see themselves as pawns, don't see themselves who they really are, and are functioning in substandard lives and self-destructive lives and destructive toward each other's lives, gangbanging, killing each other, going out, impregnating many women, not taking care of kids, all the things that we do, the things that they do as well. But don't use them. Again, don't use their antics as a justification to justify why we are this way. We are a result of the evil in this nation. We are not the perpetrators of the evil in this nation. Again, we do at times align ourselves to the perpetrators and their ideals, especially in the political realm of this nation, but we are not the purveyors of the evil that created this situation. We are the victims. We are the casualties. And we are only victims and casualties to the point where we realize it and realize this is not me. We don't have to, that day I realized, that cold January morning, this isn't me. I didn't get that buzz, didn't drink, don't smoke, try not to cuss much, A different person. Don't go to clubs. Nothing. You know what I drink? I used to drink every day, man. I drink on New Year's Eve sometimes. The last two New Year's Eves, I didn't even have any champagne. It can be like that. I thought I was going to be a cool old man one day, just getting that buzz. Because I didn't know who I really was. I bought into the line. I bought into the party line. This is who you are. You're a black man. You're cool. You know, you're out in the clubs every night of the week. You're cool. You're getting a buzz, getting high, drinking, all this stuff, man. I bought into what I was expected to be. I realized that I wasn't. Man, you know what I was doing today? I was off work today. In my house, I have this meditation room. As I call it, the plant room. I have plants all in, these tree-looking plants and all other types of plants, you know. And it's just a nice, peaceful, I had a fan going, and it was just a nice breeze coming through, and I was just reclining back. Nora Jones was playing, you know, and I was just realizing how I would have never imagined that it could be like this. I always thought that the contentment came from the buzz, came from getting high, came from getting, having alcohol, from the stuff you were doing, you know, just all I had to create the contentment, but that's not true contentment. If it's true contentment, you don't have to fabricate it. You don't have to alter your mind chemically in order to feel good if it's true contentment. True contentment is being healthy. You know, exercising, eating right, keeping yourself in good shape, and then adjusting the environment to enhance the optimal health, you know, that you've created within yourself. That's contentment. Man, I said the other day, man, I think it was Sunday or Monday, with my family, and my daughter was upstairs doing some homework, and my wife was in the back room working on something for her business, and I was in the living room just chilling, you know, watching some TV. We have a nice, peaceful family. I was just content. And I never, in my younger days, I thought I had to have the buzz to be content. I had to go out. I had to have relationships. I had to do all that stuff. But that's not contentment. That's an illness. That's keeping you from being well. That's keeping you being a pawn, not recognizing you were created to rule. How's that? I don't want to get too corny on this, but I really want you to see there's a better way, there's a different way. And you're going to find that's why you're not truly happy. That's why when the buzz wears off, you don't feel content. That's why when you're not out doing something, occupying yourself, occupying your mind, and you don't have that time to sit back and think, because when all the dust settles and smoke clears and you're sitting there by yourself, there's no happiness. Because you're living the life of a pawn. Don't do that.